DeSanto Propane is 4 generations strong as a trustworthy, family-owned business with unmatched customer service. Go online at DeSantoPropane.com for more info or call toll-free at 1-800-752-4574 today. Since 1937, the difference has been DeSanto Propane.
Well, everybody, happy Thursday. It is the FL1 betting podcast here on FingerLakes1.com. Paul Russo, Jim Sinicropi, Kyle Evans here with you. The NFL regular season officially wrapped up. We are on to the wild card round, so we'll get to all that. Reviewing our picks from the past week, previewing what's ahead, and a little bit more. But first, thank a couple more of our sponsors here, including the Auburn Auto Group when it comes to selection and service after the sale. Auburn Auto Group has been the premier destination for new and used car buyers for close to 40 years. Among the brands offered on Route 5 in Auburn include Chevrolet, GMC, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Honda, Toyota, and Subaru. Thanks to a wide range of makes and models, be sure to find your new or used car at Auburn Auto Group. And Dewey's Tavern, within walking distance from downtown Seneca Falls, just across the Bridge Street Bridge. Play quick draw, lottery, and 19 televisions for all your sporting needs and events. Great food for lunch or dinner, bocce, dart, and pool leagues. You can check them out online at deweysthirdward.com. All right. Guys, frozen tundra, football weather, postseason. We got 6 games ahead this weekend. Can't ask for anything better, really, on the NFL side of things.
Yeah, and college games. I mean, Final Four.
Yep.
It's a great time to hunker down and watch some football.
Mm-hmm. Football weather, as they say. So, we'll first take a look, of course, at our Week 18 picks. And, guys, rarity this year, I get one more weekly win in the bag on you guys. But
Nice.
In the grand scheme of it, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, Kyle, I want to begin with you. A couple rough weeks back-to-back for you, man. Is everything good over on your side?
Yeah, it's actually 3 weeks. And, honestly, these 3 picks, like I said, it was like literally last minute.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware that you guys were doing the show earlier, so I quickly just went and picked anything. But let's be real. Why would the Patriots win that game, first off, when they're trying to tank for the number 1 pick?
Fair.
And the Chiefs, a goose egg? 0?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough week to bet. Like, I had instant regret once that Dolphins-Jets game started because I reminded myself that the Dolphins are playing in cold weather. But the Jets are so bad, but, really no business taking a side in that game, right?
True, yeah. Yeah, I mean, maybe in the grand scheme of it.
Yeah.
Um,
It's Week 18 in the NFL. It's very difficult to
Yeah.
bet. There's just so many intangibles. And again, why would New England want to win that game?
I know, it was so pointless.
Yeah, but it does show in the NFL. Mostly teams are coming out to play. They're not tanking like they would in other sports, NBA specifically.
Jim, you're probably pulling for overtime there with Washington, Dallas. You got hosed by 1.5 points.
Yeah, it looked like it
On
was
that.
getting there, and it just didn't.
Yeah.
So, what are you gonna do?
Washington just went for the win on that final play. They could have kicked it and tied it and sent it overtime.
And it would have been over
Yeah.
on the kick. Yeah. Oh well.
But at least got the Chargers one right. I mean, they went out there obviously because of seeding purposes, and that one cleared by a pretty healthy margin for you. So,
Yep.
how about the Buffalo Bulls, people? Screw Liberty. That's what I say.
Yeah, they handled them nice and easy in the game that nobody was even aware was happening.
Yep. And speaking of wins and losses, Kyle, Packers just couldn't get it done. Banged up Jordan Love and lose outright to the Bears. Brutal.
Yeah, that was brutal. I mean, Bears money line looked good in there in retrospect, right?
Oh yeah, for
Jeez,
sure.
Unbelievable.
Well, me and you, Jim, last week, for those who may not know and do know, we had a special preview episode, me and you, for the college football playoff.
It didn't go well either.
It did not go well, so here's our bet card for that. Now, to be fair, it didn't, I guess, really technically matter for you because you said you were doing a parlay of those, and the only one that would have
didn't hit, obviously.
Yeah, would have been the Longhorns getting that one done in overtime.
I was shocked at the Oregon game. Absolutely shocked. The Boise State was more with my heart. I can't stand Penn State, and I just thought that and honestly, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, brutal stuff.
But I did get the minus 500 favorite on the money line, right?
How about that? And I think live line you would have been even better with value, but
Yeah.
alas. Yeah, for me the only thing I had going was those two picks, and wound up being the last game of the week with Notre Dame and Georgia. So
I was impressed with Notre Dame. I didn't think that they could get that done. I really didn't, but they did, and it really makes you think hard about this next game come tonight.
Yep, first one tonight, like you mentioned, the Orange Bowl between Notre Dame and Penn State.
Can both teams lose?
I wish. I'm not a fan of really any of the four teams left. I know.
Not to pick Ohio State after what they did to Oregon. I mean,
Yeah.
Geez. And I think the number on that Ohio State Texas game is what, 4.5?
Texas
6.
6. Yeah.
DraftKings.
Yeah.
Yeah. I still like Ohio State from what Texas kind of struggled down the stretch. Ohio State, man, that Michigan game was just a one-off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think in this late season run, I do have one of the games as a pick for me personally.
Okay.
So I'm gonna kind of stay away from Texas, Ohio State at the moment because it involves that game. Notre Dame and Penn State tonight, Thursday night, which is really weird. First time we've had these games during really the middle of the week.
Yeah, it's got an only game in town.
Yeah.
Kind of like the golf league, indoor golf on Tuesday night had great ratings. Because what else you going to watch on Tuesday at 9?
It's fair. It's true. I know I watched a little bit of it. So
I watched it start to finish. I mean, it's things they could improve upon, but something unique and great way to get PGA Tour to get their stars out there. Could have done without the music in the background. If they could have just made it a little less like a bro down and a little more serious. But I'll watch next week. Tiger plays next week.
it's true. Tiger and Rory play next.
And they said you could bet on it on FanDuel, but I couldn't find anywhere to bet on
I
it.
couldn't find anything. I couldn't find anything either.
Yeah, and they were even putting FanDuel graphics on the screen during the broadcast, and there was no. Maybe it's a New York State thing. I
I was
don't
about
know.
to say, I mean, maybe market wise, it kind of depends where you are and stuff like that. But
Weird.
Yeah, for sure. In terms of tonight, if I had to pick one way or another, I'd probably lean Notre Dame. I haven't been high on Penn State all year.
You just wait for Penn State to
Yeah.
not come through in a big game because that's their MO, and
Yeah.
so tonight's a big game. I mean, so it was last week though.
Yeah.
But Notre Dame looked really impressive in their last outing, and Penn State's quarterback they're talking about him being a top 5 pick.
Mm-hmm.
Where's he going to stay? Is he going to go? It's a pretty even matchup. I don't think I'm going to even touch it,
No,
but I'm going to watch it.
I don't think I'm going to. If I think anything, I'm probably going to do some sort of sprinkle on the Notre Dame money line. Other than that, I don't think I'm gonna.
Gun to my head, I'd take Notre Dame.
Yeah. I am in the same boat there. Wild card weekend. We can get to the picture at the end of it. Always interesting. 6 games. Begin obviously with death taxes and the Houston Texans being the first game on Saturday. Interesting stuff here. Involving one of the games where I think no matter what, it's being played Monday night. Obviously monitoring the situation out in Los Angeles. We may be seeing the Vikings-Rams moved
Glendale.
to Arizona and Glendale. I don't think that's going to sway, maybe, at least for me personally anyway, the way I view that game. I know some people it does, some people it doesn't.
Rams don't have home games.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, it's one of those things where because of recent memory, we've seen it before with teams. Because of COVID and other sort of deals involving natural weather events, I just don't see it making too much of a difference in terms of affecting one way or another.
Me neither.
Yeah. Other than that, anything that sticks out kind of going into wildcard weekend for either of you guys on any team here?
Well, I think he said it Monday. It's just how the games are aligned. You have 3 AFC games in a row, and then you end it with 3 NFC. That's kind of weird how they did that. I'd have to go back and check, but I don't think that's ever been a thing.
Yeah, I don't either. It doesn't make sense why it would be. You think you would mix it up a little bit. Not that there's like AFC and NFC fans, but back when I was younger, man, the NFC was way better than the AFC when it came to the Super Bowl, especially.
Yeah.
Like, it was unbelievable how dominant the NFC was
I was say
in
what
the Super
what
Bowl.
was it like? Only one AFC team won in the '80s.
Yeah, for
the
like
Super Bowl?
over a decade,
Yeah.
and they were blowouts. A lot of times they were blowouts. Granted, you had great NFC teams like the Cowboys of the '90s, and you know, the Giants. The San Francisco, I mean, they were just better teams. But the way scheduling and everything is now, the conferences don't make as big of a deal. Back then, there was still a little bit of a difference in the styles of play, I guess, in the conferences. But you know, you got Denver getting their butt kicked in a lot of Super Bowls, representing the AFC. But yeah, it is odd that we're going to know who's left in the AFC before we know anything in the NFC. So hopefully, you know, for Bills fans, the Bills are sitting there at the end of the day on Sunday, and they sit back and enjoy the NFC playoffs without worrying about anything.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't think I've seen, in terms of lines, we have a 10-point favorite. We have like a 9.5-point favorite. Well, it depends upon the books, obviously, but mostly kind of floating in the 9.5, 8.5 range. I mean, Bills Denver is one of those games. Ravens and Steelers is the other game involved in that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just losing focus necessarily in that sense, but like, I don't think we've seen lines that big in any sort of playoff game recently, right? I could be wrong.
I don't think so. But I just think it's for the Steelers. It's because they're on a 4-game losing streak. Their offense, they can't move the ball, and the Ravens are an elite offense, and they can play defense. So I can see that. And then the Broncos and Bills, you could see that reason too. Rookie quarterback going on the road to Buffalo, where Buffalo's undefeated and puts up a lot of points. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you also know that Bo Nix has been playing very well, and the Broncos' defense is elite. So it's a tough draw. I mean, it's kind of a gut feeling for both of these games in terms of betting the spread, I would say.
Yeah, I don't have either one of those picks for my picks because I think they are just too big of a spread.
Yeah.
But if I did, gun to my head, said that twice this show already, I would go with the favorites.
Yeah, it's interesting. I feel more confident, I think, if I were to go one way or another. I actually feel more confident going Bills to cover their spread than I do the Ravens, weirdly.
Divisional matchup, they split on the regular season.
Yeah, and I think part of it, too, is the lingering effect of, like, the Ravens in this current era especially haven't really been able to deliver it across the finish line.
Jackson has not been the same in the postseason. So
Zay Flowers just got ruled out about an hour ago, so...
And Tomlin seems to have Lamar Jackson's number too.
Yeah.
So, but what are the Steelers going to do? Pickens is like not been great and is not unhappy, and you know, what are they going to do? Run the ball against the Ravens? I just don't know how. The only way I see it being close is if the Steelers can somehow hold the Ravens under 18 points.
Yeah, turnovers I think is the big thing. The only way they would win that game.
Right.
And the Ravens haven't done that a whole lot. So.
Yeah, that game does scream. I feel like classic playoff under, classic AFC North under type.
Well, that may be one of my picks this week.
Oh, okay.
We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Hey, I will let that sit then. I think maybe without further ado, then we can kind of get to our picks. I won the week. I'll go first. Screw it. I haven't been able to do that a ton this year. So, first, I'm kind of zigging on your zag, Jim, what we kind of teed off with the semifinals for the college football playoff. I'm actually going to take Texas +6 against Ohio State. I do agree. I don't know if Texas is exactly going to be able to win against Ohio State. That being said, I don't think they're going to go out and get crushed either. It's a sticky situation, a tricky situation. Maybe I'm letting my bias get in the way a little bit. I just see maybe even Ryan Day kind of overthinking himself a little bit in this game, and I think maybe Quinn Ewers gets a little bit of revenge against the Buckeyes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of my biases, Homer flag is flying, people. I'm taking Washington +3 at Tampa Bay.
I like it.
You know, I have really technically I was alive for the last Washington playoff win, but I don't remember it.
When was that? Who was quarterback? Mark Rippon?
I think technically it was Pat Ramsey, maybe.
Yeah.
It had to have been Pat. No. Actually, yeah, I think it was Pat Ramsey. I don't think Mark Brunell won a playoff game.
Well,
Could be wrong,
either way,
but-
those are some blasts from the past.
Yeah, either way. Damn the Torpedoes. I've never felt more alive with football, so I'm going with it. And then
I like it. You know,
yeah.
Tampa Bay's secondary. I want to see who's playing for Tampa Bay secondary because they haven't been good. And if they're good, some like Jordan White heads out and some other their key guys are out. I don't see him stopping Washington's passing attack.
Yeah. And then
Tampa Bay's also had some weak
yeah.
opponents. You know, they've finished the season strong, but it's been against weak opponents. You know, barely beaten Carolina. And so I like that pick. It's not one of my picks, but that's probably how I'm leaning come the weekend.
Yeah. And then I am damning this Torpedo Monday night. I'm doing Rams money line, which you can get at even money right now, plus 100 against the Vikings. I think Minnesota. It's the weird not victory hangover, right? But I think just kind of the box they've been put in. The Rams have looked really good. We've talked about them a ton here in the past.
I disagree with that side. Not no offense, it could and it certainly could. The Rams have looked impressive, but last week against Detroit, they were able to get a lot of pressure on Sam Darnold. I don't think the Rams are going to be able to apply that same type of pressure. I think it'll be a high-scoring game, and I think that the Vikings will win.
Yeah, but that's what I'm going with. I have nothing to lose anyway. I'm in the negative, so who cares? Damn the Torpedoes. All right, who wants to go for you guys right now?
I'm ready.
Yeah, you can go.
All right, go ahead, Jim.
Starting out with the Texans +3. Sure, the Texans have their flaws. C.J. Stroud's taking some rough hits. Tank Dell's out. But I just think the Chargers are overvalued here. 3 points. I mean, the Texans have shown a lot of grit. They came back against Tennessee last week. Houston isn't a juggernaut by any means, but I think they're able of at least keeping this one close at home, even if they lose, and they are home. Yeah, I'm going with Texans +3, unless you can get me a better line.
Unfortunately, I cannot.
Okay. And also Chargers haven't excelled defensively against good offenses. For a while there, earlier in the year, they were like, wow, look at how good the Chargers defense is, but they've really been exposed several times against better offenses. And don't forget, the Texans have Nico Collins still, probably the most explosive offensive player in that game. So I don't think that I'm going with the Texans. I know the Chargers are kind of a darling of a Super Bowl sleeper, but I just don't see it.
All right.
And then we talked about the Steelers-Ravens game. I'm not picking a side. I'm picking the under, 43.5. It's a divisional game. And, Lamar Jackson's postseason games have all gone under, except for one that hit on the number. 4-0-1 career under in postseason games for Lamar Jackson. Mm-hmm. So when I see a trend like that, and the fact that it's a hard-fought AFC North grind-them-out game, give it to me. And the only way the Steelers can possibly win is if it's a low-scoring game. So they're going to game plan for a low-scoring game. And so let's say that the Ravens get out to a fast start, throw a bomb, get up 14-0. The Steelers aren't going to have the guns to come back in that type of game, and the Ravens are going to just, grind it out. I just don't see 43.5 is what I got it at.
Yep.
I just don't. I feel pretty good about that one. And then final game, and this is the one I feel the best about. I'm going with the Eagles -4.5. They're healthier. They got more talent on both sides of the ball. Elite offensive line. Saquon Barkley rested. Assuming that Hurts is going to be okay after the concussion protocol, which I'm sure he's going to play. It's just a matter of are they going to be willing to put him in tush-push situations. Right. It's a home game for the Eagles. They've been the best team in the NFC for all year, and it's just this one's I think is easy.
All right.
And the Packers also are coming in banged up on defense. Christian Watson's not playing now.
Right.
And, they got a lot of love, around Thanksgiving time, but haven't looked to me too impressive the past few times out. And it's just sometimes, for whatever reason, if it was in Lambeau, it would be a tough call, but it's in Philadelphia and it's the playoffs, and the Eagles are the best team in the NFC this year. So, what's there to think about here?
Yeah.
I would like to tease it below a field goal just to be safe, but for this purpose, 4.5, I'll give it.
Yeah, you got all the best. You got all the best numbers available too.
Yeah.
So, all right, Kyle, floor is yours.
Yeah, it seems like we're pretty opposite, which I like. It makes it interesting.
Mock fights.
I'm going to take the Chargers -3 at Houston. He had some good points.
Well, good news for you. 2.5 is the best line I got for that.
That's even better. He had some good points. I mean, it is going to be a close game, I would say, but in the end, I think the Chargers do enough. And then I'm taking a game that you guys didn't touch. I think the Broncos are covering. I got 8.5. Do you have a better number?
I can get you 9.
9. Perfect.
Wow, against your own Buffalo Bills, huh?
Yeah, I think
What is it about the Bills that you think they're not going to come out and, just cruise to victory?
I just think the defense, the Broncos defense is just going to be enough to put pressure on Allen and to limit their scoring. I don't think they're hitting the 30 mark. And like I predicted Monday, I think it's going to be about 27-23 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So 4 points. Yeah, I just think the Broncos cover. We'll see though.
Yeah, Sean Payton.
Yeah.
I'm not going to argue with there. I'm not going to touch that game either side, so I'm not going to argue with you.
And then you said you had Rams money line at +100.
Yep, even money.
All right, well I guess I'll take that. I did have Rams +1.5, but I don't on DraftKings. It's -102.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess I can go Rams money line then.
All right.
Because I do think the Rams are winning that game as well.
I think you guys are wrong about that one. I think you're.
Crazy.
No, I don't think it's crazy because I think that's the general consensus of the public right now. All of a sudden, the Rams have become a darling. Yes, they're back to healthy. Yes, they got a good running game. Stafford's all of it. But over the bulk of the season, the Vikings have just been the better team. And even down the stretch, I think that loss to let's say that Minnesota won in Detroit last week, or let's say that they lost by 2. Well, how do you think that would affect the line for this game against the Rams? I think they would be Minnesota. If that was the case, that Minnesota would be 3.5-point favorites.
Wow. I don't know about it. I don't know about a swing like that. I think maybe we're talking more of a pick territory than anything else, but that's pretty much what it is anyway.
No, I think everybody's opinion of Minnesota changed last week when Detroit handled them easily in Detroit. But we'll see. Like I said, I'm going to be on the side of the Vikings that game. You guys will be on the side of the Rams, and we'll reconvene and see what happens. I don't see. You really see this Viking season ending in the wild card round?
I can, because it's the Vikings.
Yeah, well.
Hey, I don't know. I view it as a toss-up, but I think I'm looking at it from the element of the value of the money line with the Rams kind of supersedes, I think, a lot of the other potential options to pick this week, and that's why I'm making that choice. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just think
What are the odds on the Vikings money line? Just wondering.
Let me.
Plus 100 for the Rams.
Yeah,
I
let me
got
whip-
-118 on DraftKings.
I can get it at -114. Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean,
That's interesting.
and that's the thing. Like it's leaning, frankly, pick territory. I mean, the spread option, Kyle, you brought up, right? Rams getting 1.5. The Vikings are laying 1 as their best line option. I mean, it looks like it's kind of everywhere. Let me see what I can get number-wise too here. At the moment, it's actually, at the moment, a lot of money on the money line right now is going to Minnesota, but spread-wise, it's going to the Rams, which is pretty interesting, actually. A lot of money going on the over, though, in this game, which
It's the
47.5.
most even matchup of the wild card weekend.
I agree with
So
that.
we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Again, I just don't see the Vikings losing in the wild card. But, we'll see. That'll be a fun one to watch.
I mean, it's just crazy. We have a 14-3 team going on the road, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy
14-win team.
to say out loud. I mean, and I think that, that's what I mean by, like, to me, I view it also as, like, a potential, like, hangover spot. Like, you're 14-3, and you have very little opportunity to have a home game in the playoffs. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, it'll be a neutral site game, even if it was in L.A.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's much of a home field advantage there for the Rams, but and I also think at the end of the day, home field advantage in the NFL is a little bit overrated.
For the most part, I agree. Yeah.
I mean, it might be like usually what odds makers make it a 2-point swing.
Kinda. Yeah.
To me, it's more like a half a point.
Yeah.
I also have another pick that I didn't go with.
Sure.
And it's a hot take. And I know you brought up good points, and they haven't necessarily played well. I think the Packers plus 4.5 for covering that game.
Wow.
Yep.
You and Jim got a couple different potential lock fights if you chose to go that way.
So far this season, that's been bad. Would be bad news for me, but I think that Kyle's cooled off a little bit here in January.
Bad time to cool off.
That game, man, I don't think it's the worst game to pick between this week, but I don't know about going near that Green Bay Philly game.
Everybody wants Green Bay to be like better than they actually are. I mean,
we know why I do.
So let's look at, Green Bay. You might say, oh well, the Josh Jacobs is great. They're going to pound it with. Well, guess what? The Eagles have Saquon Barkley, the NFL offensive MVP. And then they're like, oh, Jordan Love's really coming.
Ooh.
He's going to be the NFL offensive MVP, don't you think?
You think so?
Barkley? Yeah. Not MVP.
Oh, you're saying
Offensive Player of the Year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it'll be Barkley, and Allen will win the MVP.
I was about to say, I'm like, ooh.
No, that's too hot of a take for this show. Everybody's like, and you Jordan Love, like, oh, Jordan Love's, and he's this good quarterback. Best years are ahead of him. But Jalen Hurts has been there before, and he's like a unique, dominant player. So I give the edge to the quarterback too. And then you look at the wide receivers: Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown. Against the also rans of the Packers seem like they got 5 good receivers, but no great receivers.
Yeah.
And then the line. Look at the offensive and defensive line of the Eagles. I don't know. I feel really good about that one. I feel real good about the Eagles minus 4.5.
And the only bet I would make Green Bay wise, it would just probably be doing something involving the money line, because like if they're going to win, they're going to have to just, I think, gas pedal it and go, which I don't see how you do. You have your number one receiver out. I mean, you're asking, I think, at that point a lot out of and I mean we mentioned it, but like you're asking, I think, a lot at that point out of a Jordan Love who, like, I don't think is going to be 100% in that game.
Yeah, Hurts is probably more 100% than Love.
Yeah, I think at this point, yes.
Based on the nature of their injuries.
Yeah.
Well, I have a number, a wild number. The Packers have not allowed a 75-yard rusher since Week 8. And they've been facing good rushing attacks, such as the Lions, who they held under 4 yards per carry in both of their matchups. So,
I mean,
Barkley's over-under, I think, is 101 yards, and I like the under in that.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Green Bay's defense was a top 5 defense in the league this year.
Rashawn Gary ranks first in the NFL.
Trey Walker's still out.
Yeah.
They're Green Bay defense is a little banged up.
Yeah.
So the Eagles might win more through the air than necessarily on the ground. It might not just be a straight rushing attack.
Yeah. I think they'll be able to move the ball both ways.
No.
But that's why they play the games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. This has been at least to me, we mentioned it obviously with a couple games. I think for the most part, this is a pretty exciting wild card weekend slate.
It's been a great NFL season, and it's going to be a great playoffs because you look at this and
it's wide open.
It like you could get a underdog, a sleeper. More interesting to me in the AFC, obviously, with the the Chiefs, the Ravens, the Bills. But these are all great games, and could I see the Texans like get into the Super Bowl? Probably not, but could you see the Rams or the Vikings? This is what sports should be. It's wide open.
Yeah.
It's going to be decided on the field, and unfortunately, probably through the referee's pockets. When it comes down to the end of a game, and Patrick Mahomes needs to get a field goal to send it to overtime, and there's all of a sudden defensive holding or pass interference. I hope that there's not any of that, but we've seen it in the past few years. And
yeah, the NFL does a really good job of leaving the uncertainty, as I call it.
yeah.
All right. I think that does it then.
Super Bowl prediction, quick.
Go ahead.
Chiefs Eagles.
Way to go out on a limb.
Man, you are going against your Bills again. The time they need you the most here in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Chiefs will find their way back. It'll be another disappointing year.
Now, I will go with the Bills and the Eagles. I do feel like this is the Bills are a team of destiny, and I think they've been in this situation so many times before. They'll go down to Kansas City. They'll beat Kansas City, and they have the MVP. Kansas City just hasn't been right this year, and it's all like, oh yeah, look, they keep winning these close games and everything, but and the Bills beat them once already this year. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that Kansas City's offense is anywhere near as prolific as Buffalo's. They're well coached. They'll have a good game plan. They'll probably be close game, but I like the Bills this year. And like I said, the Eagles I think are just the best team, both sides of the ball in the NFC. So who will win that game? I don't know.
Do not say Commanders. You're going next.
Well, here's the deal. Unlike you, Kyle, I have gross irrational confidence in my team. All right?
I forgot
This is look, in what way? Because as we know, I'm a Commanders fan. As we know, I'm a Syracuse fan.
I can see a path for Washington. I can see a path.
What other time in history would I been able to say Syracuse and Washington are two of the top 10% of their teams in their league? Never. Not at the same time anyway. Therefore.
No, you could. Well, maybe in your lifetime. When I was younger, and
yeah, I was about to say 90.
Joe Theismann and company, and Syracuse was a perennial.
Actually, yeah, I was about to say. Now I'm thinking about it out loud. 1987 is probably the peak year of that. Now that I'm thinking about
Syracuse football was top 25 for literally 20 years in a row.
Yeah.
And basketball, you could were, but yeah, in the past, in maybe your lifetime or your conscious lifetime of being aware of sports, it's an oddity.
Therefore, we're going to party like it's 1990 or whatever. Give me Washington, give me Buffalo. I do not care. You mock me now, Kyle. I do not care.
I can see a path for Washington. I can.
Jaden Daniels.
Do you know how awesome the NFC East was in the 1980s? Can you even imagine how incredible it was? Lawrence Taylor and the Giants, Phil Simms, Joe Morris and company, and then
Syracuse.
Well, I'm talking about the NFC East.
No, right, Joe Morris though.
Oh yeah, Syracuse, right, obviously. And then Joe Theismann. Who are some of the great? John Riggins.
I was about to say Art Monk, Syracuse.
Yeah, Art Monk was a little. He was a little predated those years. I think
he was a part of the Smurfs in the Fun Bunch.
Yeah. Marcus Allen for a while too, with the but great defenses too for Washington, and then Dallas.
Yeah.
And the Eagles were the odd man out there, unless you.
And even then,
though. Head on Ron Jaworski.
Well, even then though, like you go from Jaws to Randall Cunningham, and it's not like.
Yeah, no, I mean
it's not like they were exactly pushovers either.
Yeah, I just remember fear because I was a Giants fan more so back then than I am now. I had less fandom for almost every team now than I used to when I was a kid, but those 1980s NFC East was unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was almost like the NFC East, and then everybody else did their own thing.
Yeah. I'd say for the NFC side, especially in that era, it was pretty much them and San Fran. And that was pretty much it. Kind of cyclical, kind of the Bears there for a hot minute, but
no, the Bears had that one incredible year. But everything's so different back then. You would wake up on Sunday, watch the NFL Today, and then there would be 2 1:00 games and 1 4:00 game, and then Monday Night Football. And that was it.
Yeah.
So, like, ESPN NFL primetime was like must watch because that was the only way you could really, see what was going on around the league. And then before that became a thing, I mean, you're looking at box scores in newspapers for some other games. It's just now you watch every play from every game on NFL Red Zone, and, there's games on Thursday night. There's, it's just amazing how much has changed. And back then, too, if NFL wasn't the juggernaut it was today, baseball was probably still considered, a more popular American sport.
I mean, I think especially still then, college football was probably bigger than the NFL.
Yeah, it was.
But, yeah, I mean, I for sure the MLB, I think during that time probably still, I mean, the MLB, I think, was probably really the only, well, the NFL too, obviously, in that sense, but, like, those are really the only two sports even really shown necessarily live at any given time, even. NBA used to be tape delayed all the time.
Well,
right?
they would tape delay the NBA Finals early 80s, late 70s, early 80s. It wasn't too much after that it started to, gain popularity with Magic and Bird and Michael Jordan, Hakeem Olajuwon, Dominique Wilkins. Yeah. So
welcome to sports history here on FL1.
But this is the best NFL season I can remember in a long time, honestly, in terms of just the amount of teams that have a chance to win and how exciting the games have been, and I'm really looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah. All right, we'll get out here on that note then. It's been pretty exciting, and the excitement will continue. Kyle's got a smirk over there for some reason.
Because I'm thinking it's got to be your favorite season too, because your Commanders are finally in the playoffs.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Obviously,
is it still a good year?
Holiday Bowl right now is there, but I think the Super Bowl would supplant it.
Is it still a good year if they lose?
Yeah. Considering what it's been.
The
yeah.
Bucs?
Yeah.
It's a good year for Washington if they lose. Nobody expected them to even be here. And now you got Jaden Daniels heading into next year. All of a sudden now expectations are high. It's amazing turnaround for Washington, and teams like the Giants and
exactly.
Other teams are looking at that and thinking, like, how can we do that?
Exactly. Kyle, let me live right now so I'm going to be let down in September. Come on.
I just can't believe you're so down on the Bills.
I guess I have another hot take. I don't think they're getting past next weekend against Baltimore. Because they can't stop Derrick Henry. They never have, even in Tennessee. And you saw when they met earlier in the year, they had no answer. So it just scares me that they could simply just run and pound the ball all day against the Bills.
Yeah, I do have faith in the Bills. I just think they're going to find a way. But it isn't clear cut. I don't think that they're, I don't think it's clear cut. That's what makes it so good, between the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs. It could be any one of them.
And if they lose to the Broncos, I'm not sure how we can come and do a show Monday.
Oh.
Because that's just horrible.
Hey, we talked a little bit about that anyway, as was. We just might have to set fire to the world, We're selling off players. Josh Allen, get ready to learn Arizona Cardinal,
Start following Canadian football.
See, there we
go.
go.
To Canada, the 51st state.
Grey Cup. Oh, God. We're getting out here now officially on that one. I am pulling the plug on that one. So appreciate you guys. Good luck with your picks this weekend. Good luck to everybody's picks. And if your team's in the playoffs, good luck to them as well. You can like, share, and subscribe here on the fingerleagues1.com YouTube channel and all major podcasting platforms, including Spotify and Amazon Music. Back at it again next Thursday. We'll talk then, everybody.